I cannot even begin to count the number of times that I've sat here in my office as a therapist listening to people just shaking their heads and bemoaning what has gone on in their life. And basically they may say something like, from the very beginning with this person, I knew there was something way off, but there was a pleasantness or a fun or an excitement that came along with the package. But wow, did I get pulled way in by a person that was just totally narcissistic, and I fell for it. And then they, on the backside, they're just shaking their head thinking, how in the world did that happen? Inevitably, whenever you get caught up in that kind of a mindset, there are all sorts of warning signs that you can watch for that you just kind of blow right by. And sometimes the warning signs are very clear. Now, let's keep in mind, when we talk about a narcissist, we're talking about someone that has high control, low empathy, an exploitive, a manipulative style. They have an attitude of entitlement. They must be superior, those kinds of things. That's narcissism. And today I want to do a back to the basics kind of discussion with you so that we can look at some of those warning signs that are just right out there in your face. Because I want you to just know when you're engaging with these people, they'll show themselves in a very clear way. Now, you have the covert narcissists, you have the gaslighters and all like that, and then that's its own, those are their own topics, which we've talked about elsewhere. But I want to see if we can point out 10 very strong warning signs that you're dealing with a blatant narcissist. Now, first on the list is these individuals can be easily impulsive. You'll notice that when you're around them, they can get caught up in an excitement. Hey, I've got this mood, or I've got this thing I want to go do. Come on, let's go do it. And so they have a spur of the moment way of making decisions. Now, logic will say, I don't think we need to do that. But the emotion says, oh, why not? And often this leads to very poor decision-making kind of things and last-minute kinds of things where they get pulled in. And typically when you do that and there's no planning, you realize, well, it's all about my mood right now, me, me, me. And it's a high control kind of thing, but they dress it up with excitement and you get pulled right in. A second warning sign is they're either hyper close too quickly or too intensely. Now, let's say you have a family situation, so you've known them for a long time, but their closeness can be extremely tense. I've had all sorts of stories where a particular family member has to know where you are at all times, and they're texting, and they want to get into your junk and know your business and all the rest. And so they make frequent phone calls. They may even have the apps on the phone where they can trace you and know where you are. And I don't mind accountability, but sometimes it can go way too far. Other times in a friendship or a romantic situation, they want affection or they want affirmation way too strongly, way too quickly. Sexuality can enter into the equation really quickly. They're prone to infatuations, and they hate that word infatuation because it kind of sounds, junior high, immature, which it actually kind of is, and they don't want to be associated with that, but there it is, the hyper closeness. A third warning sign that's just right out there, and that is they're very prone toward exaggerated emotion. Now, on the plus side, if it's love, if it's happiness, if it's joy, if it's optimism, they're really into it all the way. But then on the other side, if it's anger, if it's impatience, annoyance, you may think, whoa, where did that come from? And when they express their agitation or when they're irritable and all, the way I put it is you may have 5 cents worth of frustration and they give you $20 worth of anger. It's just over the top. And then later on, when you try to talk with them about it, they say, oh, don't worry about it. I'm just a passionate person. No, it's more than that. They're into their mood of the moment to where nothing else even exists. They don't consider anything beyond what they have right there in that moment. Which leads to number 4, and that is they are truly self-absorbed. When you're around them, you realize they suck all the air out of the room. It's just like there's one person in the world that really matters, and it is not you. Even if they do nice things, there's kind of a, hey, did you see what I did? That's pretty good, wasn't it? Their favorite subject is me. They're not a team player. They don't blend well with other individuals. They want all the attention on them. and they can be bossy. The implication is you people out there exist to prop me up. You people out there exist to give me my feel-good supply. And then also, if they have kids, they want their kids to be a miniature version of who they are. It's me, 24/7. A fifth warning sign is they're quite impressed by externals, by physical beauty and the need to look good. Their hair can be very important, or their clothes. They may have standout kind of clothes, or they want to have the special kind of car. They can be very concerned about body image, whether it's through over exercise or whether it's through excessive procedures to make themselves look the best. They want to have an idealized image that they can project to the public, and they'll do anything and everything just to show I'm a little bit better than everybody else. Do you see how wonderful I look? Do you see how wonderful I appear? And then that leads right into number 6. They're also driven majorly by materialism or elitism. They want to be in the right social circles. They want to be known as associated with the beautiful people and the right kind of people. They want to have the look of money. They're very impressed by people who have done well financially. And when it comes to taking the humble path, it's like, that's for other people. That's not for me. They want to be in the right restaurants or at the right events, at the right parties, and with the right people. They want to see and be seen, and that's a big deal to these individuals. A 7th warning sign is they are constantly hijacking conversations and then bring it back. They bring the conversations back onto themselves. Now, here and there, of course, there are times if somebody says, I took a nice trip to New Hampshire. And you might say something like, New Hampshire, I don't think I've ever been there. What made you do that? And then they talk about it, and you might say, well, we have a vacation, but it's on the other side of the country. There are times when you'll inject your experiences and you'll talk about your reactions, but you're able to do it inside the context of pleasant flow with that other individual. Whereas when you're talking about this blatant narcissist, when they say, I took a vacation in New Hampshire, they may say something like, well, I've never been there. And then they start talking about themselves, and they just can ramble on and on about all the places they've been and the people they've seen. And you're over here thinking, hey, remember, I was just talking to you about my vacation. I went to see my grandmother. But they just blow right by it. And the highly narcissistic individuals, whenever you're talking about a topic, whatever the topic might be, they're constantly in a one-up kind of mode. You have that topic, I've got one that's better. You've had this experience, let me tell you about 4 of mine. That kind of thing. They're hijacking their conversations. They're ridiculously poor listeners. An 8th indicator or warning sign, and that is you quickly realize they have to be in charge. It's not like they want to be in charge. They have to be in charge. They want to be the smartest person in the room. They want to be the final authority. They want to be the one that sets the rules. Now, they don't want to follow anyone else's rules, but it's like, no, there's a certain way things need to go, and I've already figured the whole thing out. I've got to have the final word, and my way isn't just the better way. My way is the only way, and don't you forget it. Now, at first they can come across kind of friendly with it, but the more you go, it's not friendly. It's very insistent and very entitled. It's part of that element. A 9th warning sign that you can watch for, and that is they are pathologically defensive. If you have a regular relationship and if you say something like, well, that doesn't make much sense to me, or I don't understand where you're coming from, the other individual can say something like, well, let me explain to you. If you say something even mildly confrontive or confused or different, the narcissist is going to be thinking, how dare you? Nobody talks to me that way. Going back to all of this stuff about they must be in control, they must be right, they must look the best. If someone even hints that maybe there's a different way of thinking or feeling or perceiving, it's like, so you're putting me down, huh? And they have a deep, deep fear of being unimportant. They have a deep fear of somebody finding out things that might prove to be wrong. And so if you even hint at anything of that nature, it's like, no, I can't deal with that. I have to be on the superior end. And then a 10th warning sign that we can watch for, and that is these individuals invariably have a long record of broken relationships. And it's always the other person's fault. I mean, they may have relationships where they cheated on someone, or they were doing some things that were way outlandish, the excessive party crowd and irresponsibility, or grossly mismanaged money. But somehow or another, it's the other person's fault. They made it happen. And so the narcissist, they don't take responsibility for all these broken relationships. Other people set up the breaking. And so they can't take responsibility for that. But eventually they just wear out their welcome with so many different people. Now, all of this said, I'm hoping you can ask yourself some questions, and that is, how willing are you to be pulled in by these individuals? Or how willing are you to make excuses on behalf of these individuals? There are times when you get caught up in their euphoria and all of their energy, and before you know it, you're just kind of riding their wave with them. Is that something you need to do? Do you have a history of ignoring these kinds of signs? And if so, why? And typically you can see that these individuals can be kind of salesmen, if you will. They can be very persuasive, and you let go of your good common sense because you get caught up in whatever it is they stand for. And so I'm hoping you'll also ask the question, exactly what kind of relationship do I need with these individuals? And I'm hoping you can see that ultimately these people that have this blatant form of narcissism, that they'll lead you to destruction just about every time, and they're not going to be good for you. So I'm also hoping then, as you're able to see these things that I'm pointing out, it can lead to one really large question, and that is, as I live my life, what are my much cleaner alternatives? Now, I'm going to remind you again, my little mantra, Dr. C, DRC, stands for dignity, respect, and civility. These individuals want dignity from you and respect from you and civility from you, but they don't give it out. And you want to watch for that very carefully. You want to stand for something that's right and good, and then connect yourself with people who get it. Okay? So I'm hoping that by looking at these 10 ingredients, it can remind you all over again that you want to be vigilant and you want to practice self-care, because I can promise you, the narcissist isn't going to care about you. They care only about one individual, and I think you know who that is. Now, I do hope that videos such as this will keep you stimulated and help you understand that you need to watch for how you can set up your boundaries well. If you haven't already done so, I would encourage you to go beneath the video and hit that subscribe button. Many times when you hear things of this nature, it prompts you to think, I want to sift this out with a licensed professional counselor. And all throughout my career, I've had people that I have referred individuals to for counseling. And right now, online counseling is extremely popular. In fact, in many cases, people that don't have access to face-to-face, they find it most necessary. If that's something that you could avail yourself to, we have a trusted sponsor, and there's a link below where you can get the online counseling. I would strongly encourage you to do so if that's a need that you would have. In addition, we have links to our library, which has my books. We have my video workshops. And then we also have the other websites, survivingnarcissism.tv, a lot of good stuff on there. And then drlescarter.com. By the way, join me on Thursdays on Facebook, Surviving Narcissism, at 11:30 Central Time, U.S. So you have to figure it out, whatever your time zone is. I have a live feed where I answer questions that come out through the week. I do hope that you can stay vigilant. I do hope that you can have your insight and wisdom so that you don't get pulled in by a narcissist scheme. And that being the case, I want you to have good boundaries. I want you to have a good sense of who you are. So that being the case, you can live in a life of steadiness and peace.